Hello, storytellers and storytelling. Ron, I want to go over For the Little RPG. What game mechanics in For the Little RPG are different from Dungeons and Dragons or any other role-playing game to make it a role-playing game for Christians, but and it's also like a real role-playing game, okay? Not a learn Bible verses or memory. This is meant to be violent and fun and gory, but also very, very Christian, and it aligns with real fantasy. I don't know, real fantasy. But fantasy that comes from the Dark Ages and medieval history and where we all get our fantasy from. Today's fantasy has erased Christianity from it, and that is not the source. Paganism in and of itself is not the source of fantasy. It is the struggle between Christians and pagans that has created the fantasy that we know and love today. And pagans have erased our part in it, our victory in it, and I want to bring us back into it, and that's what this game is about. All right, so let me switch to this. So here's you can download this for free on storytellingron.com, because I want this to be a ministry for all dads, friends, fellowship. Very simple game. Let me go to, this is all just basic sort of role-playing rules right now. Let me go back down to the first thing is denouement. I think is a it's in other role-playing games, but it's really in this one, in that as you're fighting and doing battle and having to confront cultist warriors, murderers, in all various forms, they can all look like humanoids, like orky, goblin-y, and as in costumes and cosplay and wearing things and bone armor and claws and doing kinds of crazy stuff. Because you could look at pagan history and they totally get into that garb. It's mostly for rituals and stuff, but I'm going to say that, I bet you warriors used a lot of it too, and they're like barbarian, brutal looking, so they'll look just like we think of humanoids. There'll be some bugbear looking dudes or orc looking dudes, especially with paint and tattoos and mud and all that. But anyway, so as you're fighting them, especially at the beginning levels, as the Grand Minister, you'll be rolling every now and then. Whenever you feel like you should, you'll roll a d4, and then you'll consult this chart. Flees in panic, surrenders, motions to surrender, moves away from major threat, looks for a cheap shot and getting out of there. That's the d4 roll, because that's the lowly foes and commoners. But then you'll upgrade the die to a d6, a d8, d10, d12, just based on the situation. Do they have a leader with them? Are there a bunch of them? Or did one of the bad guys get a good hit in? You kind of upgrade or downgrade that die you're using, and so when they start to surrender, that's when the players, as clergy, as ministers, as missionaries, try to then preach to them and break them down, and the preaching and stuff actually reduces their hit points, so that when they get to 0 due to something like that, they're not dead. They're just they're exhausted. They're giving up. They're dropping their weapons, and that's when you get a chance to preach to them. And it could fail, it could succeed, but it's still an opportunity. You could let them go, or you could tie them up, or you could actually convert them. And if you convert them, they're going to help you in I don't say game mechanic way like in the battles, but they'll help you in a sense of helping support the church, make the church a little stronger, do sort of descriptive background things like go get this or do that kind of thing. They'll want to serve the church. And that's a wonderful thing to experience. If you've converted some cultist warriors and they're like, we're sorry for what we've done and we want to help you. I always use that voice when I do the converted. And it's a great, wonderful feeling too. They converted some big brute and he became like the guard at the front of the church and just helped them out and was very happy. And I felt I was having fun playing that guy too after he converted, and a gladiator they went who hated the Christians because because it was the Christians who ended the arena, the fighting to the death and stuff. It was the Christians who ended it. And so I played a gladiator who hated Christians, and then they defeated him, but it was really, it's on one of the shows. It was really miraculous. Even for the die rolls that I rolled, it was miraculous how it played out. But he was like, why would you heal me and save me after I wanted to kill you? And they converted him, and it was really neat for me to play that guy, and then for him to help support the church after that. And then no one in the village, that they all hated the Christians, so no one in the village wanted to attack the church now because there was a gladiator, protecting the church. And so they all came to a service instead. So that's how it's just a guys, it's just wonderful playing this. It's wonderful playing a pagan who gets converted, and then it's also wonderful playing a pagan who gets defeated, and and then the Christians, save the day. Okay, so other rule game mechanics that I have in here, like missionary resistance, is we have the Holy Spirit in us, so we actually have an additional die rank bonus or whatever to resist. Most of the people and villagers in the world, the pagans, cannot resist the sorcerers and witches and their powers. They don't even get a roll. So that's why they have that weakness. That's why we see that in the world today. Think about it. Today, people are believing the stupidest stuff, right? Reprobate. They are. Just as the Bible prophesies, predicted, and claimed. They have no logic and ability to resist the stupidity that's coming at them. Right? Okay, you know what I'm talking about. So, but we as Christians have a chance, a good chance of resisting it. Some fall for it, and then they have to be taught otherwise. But we have a missionary resistance. What else? That's kind of very unique to just the Christian missionary thing. These are all kind of basic. Power of prayer. Okay, so power of prayer is really good. I really love this one. They obviously should pray at the beginning of a mission or when they're about to do something scary. Not all the time pray. They can pray, but you're not going to let them have a bonus or anything. But there's times in the game where you want to allow them just to stop, all get together and pray, and for whatever. And what's really cool is I had teenagers do this and I had kids do this, and it getting them to pray out loud like that was just a wonderful experience for me. The girl was a little long in her prayer, but boy, was I impressed with the prayer. I am personal anecdote here. I am a terrible. I cannot openly pray, like even at grace when we say grace at mealtime. My wife and daughters roll their eyes. The suitors of my daughters are like, oh boy, and I do a terrible job. And I usually pass it on to one of them. I'm the kind of guy who prays inside. Incessantly, ceasing without praying, or prayer without ceasing. That's what I am. I'm constantly like, you want me to pray out loud when I'm to interrupt my prayer that's going on right now? Kind of like that kind of thing. I just personally like praying by myself, but obviously praying together corporately, in corporal body is really important, or whatever it's called. Two or more, or whatever. Obviously, that is very important. Yeah. Essential. Okay. So anyway, but power of prayer. Yeah. Very fun. I love doing it. It basically gives them inspired points, but I call it inspired die because they get die. And then, I have them do a trial rating, dial rank result for what kind of bonus they'll get. And if they do a really good prayer, I'll give them a bonus to the roll, to get this or whatever result of the die rank result. Which it basically means, the die rank result basically means if you roll something, whatever you roll above 12, and I'm thinking about changing it to 10. I think I might change it to 10. Let's just say 10 for now. If you roll a 16, which is 6 above 10, then you get a D6 bonus to your prayers. If let's say I have them roll their prayer and they did a really good job, I'll give them a D4 bonus or a D6 bonus, but they all join together, so I'll give them a D8. I'll upgrade that to a D8, and then let's say the result is a 16, then I give everybody a D6 kind of thing. Okay, so that's one. Women's rule, that's actually pretty. This one is huge because, and I'm doing this on purpose because, actually I need to change that. It shouldn't be above. Women can never go above aggression. I would say 4, but I'm going to say 4-ish just to be amusing here. Because, and there actually is another rule. I need to put that in here. Or is that I'm sorry. I'm totally in the middle of the video pausing. Whatever. I'll find it later. Okay. I think it's in the glory points, where I don't have it in the rule in here. Okay, I did it. I know I did it in the Popclips one, but I'll probably update it for this one as well. But let me put this in red so I'll remember to do that. I don't want to do it. Let me pause. Let me just type this. I'll be right back. Okay. All right. So I just fixed it so that a woman's aggression cannot go above a 4-ish, women's aggression trait costs twice as much, so 5 costs 10 glory points to get, and then that's kind of the thing I added. And women's rules, man, I want women to be women, physically, biologically, psychologically, philosophically, experientially. So women in this game have to play the role. They do not run around playing men, like wielding battle axes. And if you notice that, right, about all RPGs, oh, women can do what men do. That means that's our equality. We do what men do. Women power. We do what men do. That's our women power, doing what men do. That's ridiculous. That's reprobate. It's so dumb. Don't get me started. Oh, there's a mosquito in my coffee. It's like a mosquito. Maybe I'll get some of my blood back. Whatever. Okay. I'm a carnivore, so I don't eat that, but I'm still drinking the coffee. Okay, so we got women's rule. That's a big deal. What else? Power of faith. So dying is kind of similar. I do have intervention, which is if give them one chance. If they die, they can come back and Jesus talks to them. So obviously the power of faith is the big thing, right? That you have. There's a big difference now between the witches and sorcerers of the game, and then the clerics and the clergy, and the mechanics I use are kind of a little tricky, I guess. But I love it, but I might even simplify it further for second edition. But for now, I'm going to keep it the way it is. I like it. Most get it, but it takes a little bit to explain. Although I've never given any of them the rule book, so I do have to explain to them over the Zoom when we play, like the actors. But you basically have faith points and you spend them, and you only use your spirit. So in that too, here's the difference. And this is historical too. The missionaries always went in with the word. They just used the word. They never used what the pagans used, which was theatrics, pageantry, costumes, cosplay, makeup. The pagans always had to use a show. And that's probably why we see today most really good shows are done by secularists who don't, who really are craftsmen, like who really are into theatrics and pageantry. And we Christians are not that concerned about it. I mean, we do like it, but we just don't, it's not our whole being. Anyway, so when the pagans, the sorcerers, magicians, and witches would use all this stuff upon people, the missionaries would just come in with the word. And that's how we took over Christianized Europe, from the pagans. Not to say that we vanquished paganism, but we certainly put it on the defensive, and all we did was use the word. So that's how this is. So for this, when you're using their blessings like bless, exorcism, heal, holy mace, I get it for the clerics, so they could have some sort of fighting fun. Preach. Preach is a big one. Preach and rebuke are really big ones against cult warriors. Whether preaching is in the civil areas, and then rebuke is when you're in a fighting situation. And exorcism is against anyone that's possessed. And the priest can feel or sense that using their spirit trait. So their spirit trait is very important to be very strong. And here's a cool, interesting thing too that came out of this. For the magicians, witches, and stuff, they need to use half spirit and half intellect, because they need to prepare things. So they cannot have a ton of spirit and low intellect, or a ton of intellect and low spirit. They have to split it, like average it out. And, that's sort of the rule I have. No, they're NPCs, so obviously I can make it however, but I'm making it so their spirit is generally lower than the missionaries. So whenever the missionaries do something to them, they're generally weaker in spirit to resist it, which to me is like historically accurate. So that's cool, which I really like in this, and it makes it so it does give the missionaries that sort of spiritual advantage over paganism. Pagans use their theatrics and their show to get people to fear them, want to worship them with the wonders of the show, and serve them with, after they're drugged or whatever. So that's a huge thing here. Another big thing that I have I have a paladin who has some paladin sort of, stuff that for combat. And then a woman's touch is another thing that I have, which I think is really big and cool for the women, because they're now exploring what a woman is truly. A woman, God created a woman to aid the man, support the man. And so, I got coffee. Sorry. So they have things that are absolutely beneficial. Cleaning. If they're resting in an area, the woman's going to look around and go, this place is filthy, I'm going to clean it up. And that gives everyone a bonus to rest. And they can play this out as much as they want. They may even find stuff through cleaning, right? If there's something missing. Details in communists, how they look. Will if they work on that and then go into a civil area or whatever, they can affect people with that. Distraction. So if they're trying to do something, you want to do a little distraction, and then the rogue or scout can sneak by, gets a bonus. Feigning. That's a really big one. Like during combat or during a big intense situation, they could faint or whatever and do whatever they want. And then it causes the combatants to maybe be distracted by that, so then mothering. So if they do mothering, they can, and these are all talents or traits that they can pick, get and upgrade. They get a D4 upgrade, then a D6, a D8, and roll that. And if it's really high, they can give that bonus to whoever or for whatever. See, that you don't get, then that's only the women, and it generally affects the men. It affects the women too if it's resting and stuff, but it definitely affects men. And so I want that. I want children to see that, girls to see that, that they can do cleaning, and it will affect everybody. And it does in real life affect everyone when women clean the house, because I cannot clean the house. I mean, I can clean it. I just don't have a bonus. That's obvious. But outside, I do all the cleaning. So for people to think that men are lazy or I'm just like, wow. At 50 something, I finally realized that that's all been a lie. Like men are lazy, because I clean outside all the time, almost daily. And I clean the cars and, I deal with things on the outside, and the wife doesn't even care about those things. Well, she wants to clean car, but she doesn't it's funny how she doesn't really care about the mess outside. She does, but she doesn't complain about it like I do on a daily basis. Just like in the house, I don't complain about things on a daily basis, but she does. She wants everything clean on a daily basis, where I'm like, I'll get to it this weekend, or something like that. Glory points. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, that's, I'll end it there, but those are some major things that I, in this game, in this Christian for the Lord RPG, have that the others will not have, will not touch, are too afraid to have. They're obviously offended by this. So for the Lord RPG, what things, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so thanks for watching and listening. And in the game of life, remember, roll holy dice.